English, and then the judges will introduce themselves and you guys will be able to get started. So hi, welcome to the presentation of the HR case. I'll be reading the instructions as I said. You have 20 minutes to present your solution to the judges today. Time will start as soon as you say your first word, not a minute sooner. You can track the time through the Cuckoo link that I sent you in the chat earlier. The judges can't interrupt you during your presentation, but following your presentation, they will have a 5-minute question period that I will also time through a Cuckoo link to clarify certain elements of your presentation. And please note that during the question period, if a team member is speaking when the time is up, I will allow you to finish your sentence, but I'll cut you off immediately after that. So the judges, you can go ahead and introduce yourselves and then we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Félix Deschâtelet, CEO and co-founder at Emma.
Hi, I'm Vincent Girard, Operations Manager at Emma.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy. I'm the Sales Manager.
Hello, I'm Natalie, and I'm a Human Resources Consultant.
So whenever you're ready to go.
Thank you. Connection. It's something we as humans crave in our day-to-day lives, whether it be connections with our friends, our family, and our colleagues, or a stable Wi-Fi connection so I can be here today giving you this presentation. We'd like to show you a way that you can create a stable connection with your employees to continue to grow throughout the future. My name is Dylan, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Isabel and Megan, and we are Forward Consulting. We're here today to provide you, Emma, a strategy that you can use to establish an HR system and improve upon your current processes. Our key considerations in providing this strategy are 1, your rapid growth, 2nd, the competitive industry that you operate within, and lastly, the current work processes that you have at Emma and what it means to work at Emma. Our recommendation to you today is that you need to implement standardized HR functions throughout Emma's operations. And the key pillars of this strategy are really 1, including an HR manager into your management team. Secondly, a revised recruitment and onboarding process. And lastly, standardizing your performance evaluation processes. With that being said, my colleague Isabel will now present to you our analysis.
Thank you, Dylan. So first, let's take a look at where are you now and what makes you, Emma, an attractive employer. Well, you have a flexible, young, dynamic team that's really aiming for growth as well as offers benefits such as stock options. However, when we take a deeper look, we can see that there are certain aspects where we can improve a little. So first of all, establishing performance and productivity indicators, and we can do so by integrating a collaborative bonus allocation method, having a recruitment and onboarding that will prepare you for the future, which we can do so by standardizing a process to optimize growth. And lastly, integrating HR into your operations. So assigning HR-related tasks to a specific person to reduce workload on the managers. In order to effectively grow your business, Emma must leverage what makes them an attractive employer. So let's take a look at what it means to integrate HR. So currently, your HR processes are assumed by the management team and are distributed across 5 different people. But when we take a look at the HR manager's role, it is to really take a look at the employee experience and manage it throughout the day-to-day activities. And why is this important for your business? Especially for a young, growing company, it's important to deal with the fast-changing business environment, as well as for a greater demand for quality employees, especially within the coming years. And so when we're dissecting the role of this HR manager, we can see that it is important to keep in mind talent acquisition, so ensuring that the company will be able to live up to its values by really hiring people that align with them, and that way you'll be able to grow your culture. And culture doesn't come just through talent acquisition, but also through the way you onboard. So in fact, 53% of HR professionals say that employee engagement really does increase when onboarding is improved. But how can we improve certain processes such as onboarding? Well, it's by establishing really proper and standardized policies. In fact, 75% of employees would actually stay longer at an organization that really listens and addresses their concerns. Therefore, in order to be able to manage their employees effectively, Emma must ensure they implement HR processes into the day-to-day of their business. And so let's take a look at certain processes and certain other activities that will be able to really keep your employees engaged and staying in the long term. Currently, your advisors have atypical schedules, which really makes it difficult to compensate them appropriately, to really give them that bonus that'll get them to stay. And so let's take a look at 2 different ways where we can compensate employees. First of all, we're looking at a stack rank or bell curve compensation plan, where the top 20 percentile which are the high performers, do have higher raises and are more inclined to get a promotion, versus the low 10% that are eventually let go. And so this system really does encourage high performers, as well as it really encourages competition. However, there are negative aspects such as limited collaboration, higher stress, therefore higher turnover, as well as employees that do want to stay in the middle and not really advance higher, which does go against your values of growth. But when taking a look at the profit sharing method, which is a compensation program that really awards employees based on a percentage of the company's profits, this is really to keep in mind the team aspect. So when we're taking a look at how this can be in application, a company in the UK called the John Lewis Partnership applied a profit sharing method to really to encourage all of their team to perform better. That way, at the end of the day, when the company does perform better, the employees profit. And the result was a better attention to customer service, increased teamwork, and less fear and stress regarding potential turnover based off of performance. In order to encourage your team with monetary compensation, Emma must consider a profit sharing method. So what can you do about this? We here at Ford Consulting would like to present to you two alternatives. Based on the improvement of the HR operations, the overall cost, and the scalability of the method, we've come up with two different alternatives. So first of all, standardizing your HR functions, which is really to introduce policies that will, even things all around the board, that will improve decision-making and overall recruitment. And compartmentalizing the HR functions. So really having the HR responsibilities be held by each individual manager. That way it'll be catered to their own specific team. However, when evaluating the pros and cons of the situation, we've come to conclude that standardizing the HR functions is really the way to go about it, as it will really help your company in the long term. So we here at Ford Consulting would like to present to you, Emma, Operation Ethernet, a one-year plan to ensure a stable connection between HR and your business operations. And this is based off of three key pillars, the first of which is plug in. So creating an HR department led by an HR manager. Activate, which is to create a standardized recruitment and onboarding process. And lastly, getting online, implementing a holistic performance management system. Now my colleague Megan will dive deeper into the implementation of this strategy.
Thank you, Isabel. So before getting into the nitty-gritty of our implementation, I would like to take you over our implementation at a glance. So this is a one-year strategy. The first phase, plug in, occurring for the first 4 months. The second phase, activate, starting as of month 2, and then getting online being the second half of the year. So let's get into this first phase, plug in. What are we talking about here? Here we really want to establish an HR department, especially as you are a company that has a huge potential to grow. So we want to establish a standardized HR department and also get an HR manager. So in terms of the HR department, why is this important? Firstly, to unite all HR tasks and ensure standardization, especially since at the moment, different members of your management teams are taking on different HR tasks. So we want to unite it all under one department. In terms of responsibilities, this could cover regular HR activities such as payroll, talent acquisition, conflict management, etc., but also helping your employees. So currently your advisors have to go to different people in the management department to get their questions answered. And now, other than questions having to do with sales, everything else could be directed to the HR department. And then in the future, as your company grows, the HR department will be able to grow and there will be specialization of tasks. In terms of the HR manager, what are we talking about here? Firstly, the purpose would be to be the head of the HR department and also be able to establish your processes, which will be carried on throughout your company's life. In terms of qualifications, this would be someone with an HR background, someone who is bilingual, someone with great leadership skills, especially someone who's willing to take on this great task of establishing an HR department with the management team. And in terms of training, this would be a CEO-led rotation schedule with different members of management. As it was said earlier, different members of management are taking on different HR roles. So we want to make sure that that HR employee gets a time with everyone to learn all of their roles. Now let's move into the second phase. Here we're talking about Activate. So now we want recruitment and onboarding practices. This is starting a month after phase 1, just in order to get your HR manager used to Emma surroundings and be prepared to work on recruitment and onboarding processes with you. So let's talk about your needs and goals. First, in terms of hiring forecasts, you're currently looking for 4 to 5 advisors to be hired soon, and also up to 3 software developers. And you see yourselves hiring a surplus of 25 to 30 new employees by the end of 2022. Now, we want to be able to introduce all of these potential hires into a standardized environment that is the Emma environment. What are the opportunities when you're setting up your recruitment and onboarding processes? Firstly, establishing your corporate culture and making sure that this culture gets carried out throughout. So all of these new hires will understand how it is to work at Emma, what the culture is, and you can also establish different rituals just in order to increase your employer branding and also increase employee engagement. In terms of the recruitment process, how does this look like? So we want you to take advantage of a very special thing that's happening right now. COVID-19 has not been great for everyone, unfortunately, but it does mean that attending campus events, like campus recruitment events, are free online. You do not have to pay to be a sponsor. So given this is a smaller company, we want you to take the advantage of this COVID-19 online environment to get your name out for potential candidates, especially since you are okay hiring new grads. We would also like you, the HR department, to collaborate with different departments depending on what employee is being hired. So that means in terms of the interview process, whoever is the manager of that department that is hiring, they would be involved. And also establishing just your typical process in terms of a phone screening, the interview process, what kind of questions are asked, et cetera, et cetera. And also, since you plan on moving westward, paying attention to the different provincial employment laws in Ontario and onward. And now let's talk about Emma and Friends. Here is the onboarding opportunity where we want to lead it back to your company values and your company culture. So Emma and Friends would be an onboarding program where firstly, there would be a standardized training checklist to make sure that every single new employee is getting the same high quality training, that they know exactly what their tasks are, how to get them done, and make sure to reduce future problems. We would also like to have the Meet Your Friends online bonding. This would be for every new batch of recruits. There would be an online bonding to be able to meet teammates and other people in other departments. This would be, we don't want to have Zoom fatigue, so up to an hour of playing games, maybe a cocktail, a 5 à 7, something just to be able to interact with your fellow employees, especially since everyone is working from home. And we would also propose you to send out the Emma Care Package. So this would be a t-shirt and a mug with your values or something of your choice on it. It would firstly be sent out to your current employees, and then any new employees would also receive it by mail. And this would be just the welcome to Emma. This is the kind of environment you're entering. Congratulations. All right, and then let's move into our third phase. So this is Get Online. We want to talk about here your values of the performance appraisal system, the values behind them, the actual appraisal system itself, and future initiatives. So let's move into values. Your priorities are team spirit, growth and learning, and innovation. So how we want to address this is firstly using 360 feedback. This would be year round to make sure that employees are learning constantly, that they're learning from others, that they're interacting with others, and also endorsement. So that would mean having endorsement from the top levels of your company to demonstrate that Emma is committed to these goals at all levels. In terms of the appraisal system itself, what do we propose to you? So firstly, you want to have your annual evaluations. So firstly, it would sending out clear objectives of what each employee is tasked to do and what can they do to do the best that they can for the company. We also would like to have a holistic appraisal system rather than say a bell curve or something like that, because we don't want to foster an environment of competitiveness and tearing each other down, but rather collaborating together, especially since multiple employees could be working with one client. We would also like to have an anonymous survey that would be done yearly and asking questions such as, would you recommend others to work for Emma? And this would be able to check your employee net promoter score. So this would be checking How likely are employees willing to recommend you to other people, and how they view your brand? And also implementing two-way evaluations. So this would not only be evaluating your employees, but the employees getting to evaluate their managers. In terms of benefits, like we talked about it earlier in the analysis, we want to go with profit sharing, since this would be a much better way than going with individualized bonuses. This is especially important since this would not necessarily be fair, and we want to go in that team spirit direction. So profit sharing would be the best way to give your employees financial incentives without making them compete against each other. And let's move into the future initiatives. So there's two things we want to talk about here. Firstly, for tracking performance, as your company grows, it will get more and more complicated to track your employee performance. So here we recommend you in the future to get an HR software. An example would be Bamboo HR. This is a great one for smaller companies, just to be able to have all of your employee information accessible online to anywhere, be able to get your statistics and any important information that you would need. And in terms of sustainability goals, because once again, you want to have a good impact on your community, we would recommend having community volunteer days. So this would be one day off of the year where employees could have a paid day to go and volunteer in something in the community to help out. And this would have a great impact on your employer branding as well. So what can you do tomorrow? What we want you to do tomorrow is hold a meeting with the management and be able to figure out what you're looking for in an HR manager and start that process going. Now, that being said, I'd like to pass it off to Dylan to talk to you about our risks and mitigations.
Thank you, Megan. As with any given strategy, we understand that there are risks that will arise when implementing it. The first risk, we can see that your managers, while they've been taking on a huge load and handling HR operations as well as their own departments, they may be uncomfortable with 360-degree feedback or not understand how to deliver that feedback. So the mitigation for this would having your new HR manager as well as your CEO host training sessions that are highlighting the benefits of implementing this feedback program and how it really improves the operations of Emma for the future. Secondly, you can have remote work is going to increase the difficulty of onboarding your new employees or makes it harder to build a bond with your new employees between them and their coworkers. So the mitigation for this is really to increase virtual social events between employees. And it doesn't always have to be Zoom. You can explore other platforms such as GatherTown, which adds a little gamification to your bonding sessions. And lastly, you could have your management could be hesitant to delegate HR responsibilities. They've been taking on this role and they've been working with their employees. They may not trust someone coming in to manage this new department. So the mitigation for this is having your CEO have one-on-one meetings to diagnose what the resistance is and how you can improve and how it benefits each manager to have an HR manager handling these responsibilities. Next, let's look at some key performance indicators for the strategy. First is the ENPS score, which measures employee satisfaction. Your goal here is 50. 50 is a score that denotes an amazing employer and one that any employee would be happy to recommend to their friends, and you strive to be that employer. Next, we're at the time to hire. So it's going to measure the effectiveness of your recruitment process. In terms of hiring your new financial advisors, you'd like to fill these roles within 2 months so that you can really get the ball rolling and hit the ground running in terms of growing into the future. Next is your employee performance rating, which is going to measure the effectiveness of your appraisal process. The goal here is to have a 90% score by your employees to show that they are really fulfilling the duties that you need for them to fulfill as Emma employees and that your training and your onboarding processes are effective. Let's look next at what the budget of this strategy is. The biggest cost in the strategy is really hiring an HR manager. The total cost of the strategy is $90,000, whereas the HR manager takes up the lump sum of that. The big reason that you need to do this is that your managers are currently operating in 2 roles, HR and within their own departments. By freeing up their time and taking away the HR responsibilities from them, they can work harder and stronger to grow Emma into a bigger brand within the future rather than taking their time away in what can be dealt with by the HR manager. We came here today to present you, Emma, with a strategy that you could use to establish an HR system and to improve upon your current processes within your business. The key considerations in providing a strategy were really rapid growth, the competitive industry you operate within, and the current work processes at Emma. To solve this issue, we gave you Operation Ethernet, which is our 1-year plan for you to ensure a stable connection between your HR department and business operations. The pillars of the strategy were to plug in, to activate, and to get online. When we came here today, you were in a place where you had your HR processes managed by various managers, and you now have HR processes that are standardized and managed by 1 employee. You were unsure how to appraise your sales team's performance, and now you've implemented a holistic evaluation system. Lastly, you were in a place where you needed to recruit employees quickly. You are now prepared to recruit and onboard your employees effectively so that they're ready to be the best Emma employees that they can possibly be. We spoke earlier today about the value of connection. It helps me give our presentation to you today. It also helps us to build relationships with our colleagues and our friends. By implementing stable programs, you can ensure a lasting connection with your employees to have a great relationship between your employer and any future employees you may bring in Emma to ensure that you can have stability in your company so that you can grow towards the future. Thank you, and we now open the floor to Q&A.
Awesome. So for the question period, I'm sending the link for the Cuckoo timer right now, and the timer starts as soon as the judges have started their first sentence of their first question. You're up to you, judges, now.
I have a quick question. We're quite a small team at the moment. Is it a good timing to hire an HR manager or even a full HR department?
Perfect. Thank you for your question. So yes, you are a small team, but you do have ambitious growth goals and you would like to expand out west. We believe that bringing the HR now so you can establish your processes that you can use to grow towards the future is essential while you're still small so that you don't have to try to mitigate those risks as you grow, but you have processes in place ready to go when you can scale up towards Western Canada.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask about one thing that you've mentioned a couple of times is the profit sharing method to establish compensations and bonuses. Given that we're a startup and that growth is pretty much the goal rather than attaining short-term profitability, how would you adapt your methods to our reality?
Perfect. Thank you for that question as well. So a way you could adapt that is you could hammer down in the short term on your employee stock option plan and reward employees with stocks for the short term and move to profit sharing as you grow if profit sharing is not feasible at the time.
Thank you.
You stole my question. Okay, you've talked about HR department and HR manager being implemented. How do you see an HR department? What budget would you allocate to it? How would it look?
So currently, since you are still in a small phase of your company, we would just want the HR manager to be working by themselves. We would not be hiring an entire department to accompany them. So that budget for now would just be that HR manager's salary and whatever they need in order to get their tasks done. But as the company grows, then that would be increasing the budget and increasing the number of people hired.
Thank you.
I know you've also mentioned 360 feedbacks. Could you go a bit further into details about what you're expecting the HR manager to do?
So in terms of feedback, when we're talking about 360 feedback, we want feedback from not only the managers, but also that employees, teammates, their coworkers. And in terms of the expectations, if we want it to be year-long feedback, the manager would be responsible to not only monitor their employees' work, but also just reach out once in a while. Hey, this was fantastic what you did the other day. Or, oh, you were a little slow to answer this person's question. Maybe we can work on it together to figure out a way to speed things up. So that 360 is getting feedback not only from your manager frequently so that they can learn and grow, but also getting feedback from other coworkers.
Thank you.
I'm very curious to hear how you see the holistic appraisal approach. It looks like a good concept. I would like to hear more about it, please.
Perfect. Thank you for your question. So it kind of leads into what Megan was saying earlier. So we believe the holistic approach would be not only evaluating them on strictly their performance, such as sales of insurance packages, also interactions with coworkers, collaboration amongst departments, because you do have a company environment at Emma where you do rely on, for example, the marketing department to create content to attract sales. So it's interactions between departments and really evaluating not only their end goal performance of sales, but how they work together as a team to grow Emma.
Were there any more questions from the judges? That seems to be it. Perfect. Well, thank you for your presentation. I'm going to ask the team members to leave the Zoom now, and we'll put the judges back in their breakout room.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.